This is the Times Television Network, and you're watching ET Now.
Apple co-founder and former CEO's master reign has sadly come to an end. Steve Jobs, the heart, the soul of Apple, has passed away on October 5th in California. Tonight we pay a special tribute to the visionary leader and look into Apple's future. Welcome to Steve Jobs the Icon. I'm Radhika Sharma. Well, like millions of fans out there, I'm also an Apple fan, so it's the end of an extraordinary era in tech. Sudhir Chal first joins us on the show. Up first to give us a quick report of this news. Sudhir, this news comes as a shocker, as just about a day ago, Apple had unveiled its iPhone 4S with much fanfare. Steve Jobs wasn't at the launch. So how's the online world taking it?
Yes, Radhika, as you're aware, at 4:30 p.m., the news of Steve's death hit the Silicon Valley, hit America, and the entire everyone was trying to find out more information about this. So the first piece of information we got was actually from Steve's family, and they said that of course he died of pancreatic cancer, which we all knew he was suffering of. He apparently died with his family right around him by his bedside, and that's probably the way he liked it, because we all know Steve was such a family man. We then got a report from Apple.com itself. They changed their homepage. We also, it was a very pointed and to the point tribute, so much to say is that, hey, the world is an immeasurably better place thanks to Steve, and so true is that. And immediately almost the web world, Twitter and social media was ablaze. So firstly, Google.com updated its homepage with a link to Steve Jobs, and it's very, very rare that a competitor would do something like that. All the tech blogs had dedicated their complete pages to the great man. Twitter was ablaze. Twitter hit a record of 10,000 tweets per minute, and usually even when big events like the Olympics happen, it only hits about 4,000, 5,000 tweets per minute, and this was unbelievable. 10,000 tweets per minute is unheard of on Twitter, and their servers were also down for a while. Similar activity was seen on Facebook. The ironic part is that 5 of the 10 trending topics on Twitter were actually around Steve, and there's a big joke that almost all of them would have been coming from Steve's devices. Google too saw some crazy traffic around Steve and around Steve's death. Today was a day when Steve Jobs was the most searched all through his career, and perhaps it's a trademark, and perhaps this is what Apple is hoping for, that Steve remains in the hearts of his users for many years to come.
Well, thanks so much for that, Sudhir. Well, Twitter crashing, sort of a tribute by Twitter themselves, sort of a nail salute there. Well, the world today lost a visionary leader who's inspired many personal computing devices in his term as CEO and has changed the way the world looks at technology. Let's take a look at all the successful innovations which made Jobs one of the most significant industry icons of his generation.
24th August 2011. One of the most iconic CEOs of this generation, Steve Jobs, resigned from Apple. But rewind that clock to 1985, almost 26 years ago, he was forced to quit the very company that he founded over a power struggle. It all started with a simple ad titled 1984, and the Macintosh was born.
Now I'd like to show you Macintosh in person. All of the images you are about to see on the large screen will be generated by what's in that bag.
The first commercially successful small computer with a graphical interface is now an iconic category of computing altogether, which geeks lust after, namely the Macs. After founding his second company, Next, in 1986, Steve Jobs brought the graphics group, now known as Pixar, which has produced many award-winning animation films and was then sold off to Disney for $7.4 billion. In his term as CEO from 1997 to 2011, Jobs will be remembered as the man behind many successful, game-changing innovations. The music industry changed for the better and the devices got smaller. But the innovation didn't stop there at all. The phone industry got its God phone with the almighty iPhone.
What we want to do is make a leapfrog product that is way smarter than any mobile device has ever been and super easy to use. This is what iPhone is.
And of course, the most recent one being the iPad. The iPad is the highest selling tablet by far. And in addition, he also built the largest app store, a billion-dollar music service, iTunes, as well as a chain of Apple stores all across the nation. Style and grace in technology has always been the key in everything Apple. Steve Jobs has always been known as a great marketer with the reality distortion field, who knows his consumers, and this is one of the major assets contributing to the growth of Apple. The former CEO had been battling with his cancer for some time now, and although it was always going to happen, his death nonetheless marks the end of an extraordinary era in tech. The once game technician, the modern Michelangelo, the spiritualist and the innovator, Steve Jobs will always be remembered as the man who made the Macintosh dream possible.
Well, Apple's website, that's apple.com, also paid tribute to its founder and chairman. Their official statement read, Apple has lost a visionary and a creative genius, and the world has lost an amazing human being. Those of us who have been fortunate enough to know and work with Steve have lost a dear friend and an inspiring mentor. Steve leaves behind a company that only he could have built, and his spirit will forever be the foundation of Apple. Well, Jobs and Gates had locked horns while the rival Macintosh and Windows platforms went head-to-head throughout the 80s and the 90s, and right up until Gates stepped down as Microsoft CEO in 2008. But today, Bill Gates also expressed his grief by saying, I'm truly saddened to learn of Steve Jobs' death. The world rarely sees someone who has the profound impact Steve has had, the effects of which will be felt for many generations to come. For those of us who are lucky enough to get to work with him, it has been an insanely great honor. I will miss Steve immensely. Even US President Barack Obama had paid his respects to Steve Jobs. The president's official statement read, Steve was among the greatest of American innovators, brave enough to think differently, bold enough to believe he could change the world, and talented enough to do it. He transformed our lives, redefined entire industries, and achieved one of the rarest feats in human history. He changed the way each of us sees the world. The world has lost a visionary. Also, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg also wrote, Steve, thank you for being a mentor and a friend. Thanks for showing what you can build can change the world. I will miss you. And last but definitely not the least, Larry Page, co-founder and CEO of Google, said, I am very, very sad to hear the news about Steve. He was a great man with incredible achievements and amazing brilliance. He always seemed to be able to say, in a very few words, what you should actually have been thinking before you thought it. My thoughts are with his family and the whole Apple family. Well, Steve Jobs has been known to be the spiritualist, and his India connection dates back to his teenage years when he backpacked across the country searching for enlightenment. Now he leaves a huge fan following in the form of business leaders and celebrities. Krishna Kumar tells us how India is mourning the loss of this tech visionary.
Steve Jobs had his first tryst with India in late 1973. A college dropout, Jobs floated through India in search of spiritual guidance prior to founding Apple. Then 18-odd years old, he came with a hippie mindset along with a friend, Dan Kotke, after dropping out of Reed College in Portland, Oregon. And that's because after he dropped out of college, he earned his keep by returning Coke bottles and getting a weekly free meal at a local Hare Krishna temple. The trip did make a big impression on him and even sparked his conversion to Buddhism. But his way of life eventually became a source of inspiration for corporate India. Anand Mahindra tweeted, "It's hard to wake up to a world without Steve Jobs." Vijay Mallya's tweet read, "The world has lost one of the greatest innovators of the century." Wipro's TK Kurian says, "The Wizard of Cupertino introduced a little magic into our lives." Lakshmi Narayan of Cognizant in his statement said, "Jobs challenged conventions and stereotypes and pushed the envelope of innovation like few others." And Infosys' Chris Gopalakrishnan terms it as a great loss to the world of technology.
His demise at the very young age of 56 is a great loss to the industry. His legacy will be felt for many, many years to come. And he's gone against conventional wisdom in many cases. In everything, he has gone, with his own views, and that requires courage.
Not just tech CEOs, Prime Minister Manmohan Singh said he was deeply saddened by Jobs' demise and said he taught us new ways to connect.
But India has never been a part of Steve Jobs' business plans. While India didn't feature in his script, Indians took to his inventions like fish to water. And now, he leaves behind a legion of fans in the country, including me, Krishna Kumar, ET Now, Mumbai.
Well, he leaves behind great products indeed. It'll be a sad thing to see a world without Steve Jobs right now. But time for a very small break on the show. Coming up on the other side, we get talking about Apple's future with Alok Kejriwal and Mahesh Murthy. Stay tuned to Steve Jobs, the icon. We'll be back.